everybody, Goosebumps for Dummies here. Live long and prosper and hello from Earth. And today I'm going to be talking about Invasion of the Body Squeezers Part 2. Yeah, we talked about Part 1 the other day and now we're talking about the second part to it that concludes the story. And this one is most known for a lot more alien action. And I mean a lot more. We have this beautiful art piece by Jim Jacobus once again. And of the two, I prefer the first cover art. I guess that side of it, but overall it's an amazing art piece. Great work, Tim Jacobus. And as for the story, this is commonly less liked than the first one, and I'm gonna shock y'all. I'm kind of reverse on that. I prefer this over the first book, so let's dive in. And now for the blurb. Oh yeah, there's no blurbs. Screw your Series 1000 with your damn random text in the book that doesn't summarize it. So what is this book about? Well, it's a good thing that I have a good memory like Joe Biden and totally don't have dementia. This book is about Jack fighting off aliens. Yeah. It's literally the simplest blurb. There's other stuff to it, but it's literally just Jack versus the Body Squeezers. Is that a bad thing? No, it's just like, wow. This whole book is basically what you expect of a Goosebumps climax, only for 120-some pages. And, well, definitely overstays its welcome in that regard. It's still a good book. Let me just tell you. I like this more than Part 1, but I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't like it more than Part 1. But I still can stick to my take. I think this is better than Part 1, but not by a lot. And now let's get to my upsides. Now getting into my upsides, there's a lot to cover, and a lot of big strong suits at that. So let's start off with the Body Squeezers, the stars of the show, the selling point, besides it being Part 2, so yeah. The Body Squeezers play a huge role in the story, because obviously they are the most prevalent threat, and they're cool. They're very cool alien creatures that have interesting mechanics, and add to some nice horror elements, and are generally very threatening because they're taking over this entire town like wildfire. Like, they're very much invading. So it is very much a wholehearted invasion because there's a lot of people being infected in this town. And I think it's a pretty big town from what I know. It's in California, so it's got to be somewhat big. Moving on. Besides Body Squeezers, we also have Jack, who's doing a great job here. I really like his character still. Mr. Fleischman, without getting into some particular things, he's also great here for what do we get of him until a particular point in the story, which is its own upside. Once again, we also have the intro to the book, which, like the end of the first book, kicks things into gear. It really sets the tone immediately, and it wastes absolutely no time. So I really like that. We literally start off with the Body Squeezer approaching him. From the end of the first book. I'm assuming you've read the first book, by the way, so I will bring up spoilers from there, if need it be. I kind of will, actually, with a negative later. But yeah, I really liked a lot of the general stuff about this book. There was also less prevalent bully characters and assholes, because let's face it, those guys sucked in the first book. They were a huge negative for me, at least the whole point, just because those characters, the bullies I call them, but they're supposedly his friends, his parents and his sister were all basically assholes to him, and that was really annoying. So it's it's less prevalent here, which shouldn't be an upside or a downside, but I just wanted to bring it up in here because it's like, well, that's better. That's definitely improvement. So we'll give it that. This book is very fun. So before we get into our big upside, this book is generally just really fun. And whilst it's not the most fantastic read ever, and it doesn't have a lot going for it, especially when it comes to plot once again, it's still like, you're gonna have a great time. And I had a much more fun time reading this than the first one. Not that the first one wasn't fun, it was decently enjoyable. This one's just like, this is way more of a blast. And there's some great moments in here, like the auditorium sequence, and obviously a lot of moments where he's almost getting captured by Body Squeezers, or he almost gets fucked in the ass by him. Not literally. Not literally. Hate to put an image in your head. Now moving on to our big upside. Alright, I can say it now. Mr. Fleischman is a top 10 Goosebumps villain of all time. Yeah, Mr. Fleischman is the frickin' mastermind of the operation. This reveal is so awesome. Mr. Fleischman's villain reveal in the entire end sequence is great, for the most part. It's so good. And Mr. Fleischman's name is a pun. Mr. Fleshman. I'm not even kidding. He's a literal being of flesh. And there's a really, really disturbing way you have to defeat him. And it's basically, you have to pretend to be a body squeezer. Which doesn't make a lot of sense. Kinda? I don't really know. But it's so gross. So gross and unnerving. And it reminds me of I Live in Your Basement. Not in just a defeat. I mean, he's a flesh man. It's creepy. It's a crazy reveal that really, makes Mr. Fleshman one of the most memorable Goosebumps twist-ish villains, because we didn't know for the longest time what the hell is Mr. Fleshman's intentions. Turns out he's the most evil motherfucker there is on the planet. He's the hive mind. He is the one who orchestrated this whole thing. And killing him kills the aliens, which is what happens. You crawl on his back, so really gross stuff. And I loved it. So yeah, Mr. Fleshman glazing aside, let's move on to my negatives. Now getting into negatives, I have to spoil something about the first book, so unless you, for some reason, didn't read the first book, you should be good. I don't know why you'd be here. Let's just say involves a tennis ball. I'm not even kidding. I am pissed about a tennis ball. Let me explain. It was, so fucking apparently hinted at. But a tennis ball was going to be a potential weakness for the body squeezers. And whilst it could have done the same thing as water in this book, which we'll get to in a second, it didn't even get brought up again. Yeah, in the first book, Matt's like, sorry, not Matt, I keep calling him Matt. Jack is like, oh, tennis ball, when he's under the, control of the body squeezers. He's like, oh, I don't like that. And it's just never, ever brought up again. I'm not even kidding. And it doesn't make any sense. There's no literal reason you can piece together. At least, I tried. I sat there for 10 minutes like, what the fuck does this mean? Where's the tennis ball? Did I miss it? No, it's just not in the story. It literally was in part 1. It was hinting at something big, and it never got brought up again. Which is just like, this has happened before, too. 12 Screams of Christmas had a huge hint that a certain character was a ghost. It was never brought up again. There was no, saying he was or wasn't, he or she was or wasn't a ghost. It was just like, we don't know. I guess the main character was just trying to fuck with us, or Stine was high. And speaking of high, yeah, Stine was high writing this, because clearly he forgot about the tennis ball thing. I didn't. And if you read these back to back, you're definitely going to be like, where the fuck is that? Why even put that in? So yeah, I just rambled about a tennis ball for nearly 2 minutes. It's stupid, but it just kind of bugs me. Kind of is an understatement. Kind of pisses me off. And another thing. Water. A hinted at weakness for the body squeezers was water. Because they actively avoided it. And whilst it's fine that they weren't, it wasn't a weakness, I was fine if it's like, I gotta try water. It was hinted at, like, very clearly, and it was like, it's gotta work. No. So it was just a very pointless thing to include. It felt like maybe to be like, oh, I'm afraid of water, and then immediately try and use it. But at the end, it just didn't need to be there. So yeah, the water weakness was just stupid. It wasn't even a weakness. It's just like, I don't know, we don't like water. Yeah, moving on, we have our final negative, and that's repetitiveness. I called this book one thing in my Goodreads review in 2 words, and that was repetitive banger. Yeah, that's what this is. It's a great read, but it's repetitive as shit. And that's my other big downside. This book is so repetitive. For like 80 pages of it, it is rinse and repeat. You've got to believe me, there's aliens attacking. They don't believe them, and they usually get turned into aliens. Or they are aliens, or whatnot. Yeah, people get turned into aliens a lot in this book. And it's not like it's annoying. It's like, cool. I like that we're actually having an invasion. And there's a lot of crazy scenes. It's just like, really? Come on, man. We could have a lot more going for the story than just the same thing over and over and over again. And I think that's probably due to Stine not really knowing how to write a book that's entirely climax. Like, what? This whole book is the ending. Like, this is where page 80 to 120 would be in your typical Lang Goosebumps book. This is page 120 to 240-ish. Yeah, so if you want to count both books as one, which is how I read it. I actually read a bind-up. And it's just like, why? Why is it so repetitive? Clearly Stine didn't know how to write it. Or either that or it's just a weird choice. Sorry if I'm discrediting you, Stine, if you're somehow seeing this. Either way, I wasn't big on how repetitive this book was. And yeah, it's all for negatives. Let's get into my rating. I give this book an 8.5 out of 10. It's great, but no spectacle, sadly. It has its fair share of issues involving weaknesses and obviously repetitiveness, but it has some strong suits when it comes to enjoyability, the aliens, and Mr. Fleshman being awesome. Yeah, so you're gonna have a great time, and hopefully you can get past these issues, unlike me. If you're fine with repetitiveness, because maybe, especially if you haven't read a Goosebumps book in a while, you're gonna be like, oh, cool, I'm liking this. But of course, I read Goosebumps almost weekly, so... or Kids Horror. Hope you guys enjoyed this book review, and tell me what you think about Invasion of the Body Squeezers Part 2 down below, and why not Part 1, or just the entire two-parter as a whole. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.